Welcome to Common Ground. My name is Fernandito Bosa, in host today for Sheriff Steve W. Thompson. Today my guest is Eneida Roman and Betty Francisco, both attorneys, and many other topics we're going to be talking about. So let us welcome them. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you both here.
Thank you so much, Fernando.
So let's begin with you, Eneida. Tell us a little bit about your business. What do you do?
Absolutely. So, well, I'm an attorney here in Boston. I have my own practice, and I started probably in around 2004 practicing law. But that's not all I do. I do other things. I'm involved in the community and doing many other things, serving on boards here for Big Sister of Boston. I also serve on boards on the HMBA, which is the Hispanic National Bar Association, and the American Bar Association. A lot of it is focused on Hispanics and Hispanic initiatives because, I'm Puerto Rican, and I moved here from Puerto Rico. I came here to go to law school in Boston, and thinking that I was going to go back home, I ended up staying here. I met many friends along the way, including Betty. And so my focus is always on serving the community and making sure that we always give back and serve those that are behind us.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, we're going to be coming back to more of that because I was listening to you. That's awesome to really think of, how it all began. And Betty, you're an attorney too.
I'm an attorney too. So I came here to Boston in 2000, no, not 2000, in 1994 now. So I've been here longer than where I grew up, which was New York City. So I came here for law school and didn't even think I would stay. And in fact, started working in a large corporate law firm here and did corporate law for about 8 years. And then I went in-house to Sports Club LA, which was a big health and fitness chain. So that is what became my passion ultimately, was health and fitness, learning the business of it. And in 2014, our company was sold, and it was then that I actually launched my own venture, my own youth fitness company. So I'm sort of delving in law and fitness, as well as many community endeavors. Both Eneida and I are co-founders of a network called the Latina Circle, which we'll talk a little bit more about. And a lot of our work is focused on advancing Latinas across different professional realms, but part of our network is really providing support to our leaders and mentorship as well as championing.
That's awesome. And actually, that's where I wanted to go to. So let me go back a little bit because I want to hear, both of you said this, and I wanted to kind of hear. When you came here to study law, you actually came here, but yet you were going to go back. Well, why? What is that thought of wanting to go back? Is that because you just wanted to come to school and just go back home? Was that the idea? Was this because you didn't want to leave home? You just wanted to get your profession, your title, and just go home?
Well, I mean, in my case, my family is all in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
So I was born and raised there. I came here thinking that I just wanted to get a graduate degree and move back home and be close to my family. But I actually went to law school at night, and law is really my second career. I'm a psychologist before being an attorney. And so I had the opportunity of working in Lawrence for the Lawrence Public Schools. I used to test kids. And so that experience opened my eyes a lot because I saw how much need there is for Hispanic professionals here in Massachusetts. I mean, there is certainly an underrepresentation of Hispanic professionals across the board and leaders. And so there's a lot of us, but not many people that offer the services that speak the language that can be there for the community. And so when I graduated, I thought, well, I'll work here 1-2 years, and then I'll go home, because I really wanted to make sure that I served the community in a legal capacity. But 1 year turned to 2, 2 turned to 3, and I've been here almost 20 years now.
Yeah. And how do you go from that, from like is it working with children, you said counseling,
Yes.
and then going to law? I mean, I can see that it went into the passion of law, but like, didn't you just want to stay in one spot? Or you just your life it was to be an attorney? Is that what it was? Or?
No, not really. I mean, I just wanted to broaden horizons a little bit,
Okay.
and so I had my license as a psychologist with a master's degree, and so I mean, the particular area of psychology that I studied, you could take the test and pass it and practice. So I didn't feel the need to get a PhD in that area, but I still wanted to get another degree, and I knew that law would complement psychology very well. So that's why I decided to study law.
Wow, that's amazing. It's great.
And it's interesting because I wanted to be a psychologist when I was in college and then realized all the science you had to study, and I said, oh, forget it. Yeah, in retrospect, it would have been a good thing. But,
Yeah.
So I'll ask you the same question. So what was it in your mind when you decided that you wanted to come here, study law, but then go back home? Like, why go back home at that moment? You know, because sometimes, you know, and I'll tell you why I'm asking the question, because it happens to artists. You know, in the field, I've also done entertainment, and artists do that. They like, let's say if they're born here or they study here at Berkeley College of Music, let's just say, right, or theater, and so they become good. But in order to get a name or be recognized, they have to go somewhere to get established, to get well known. And then by the time they come back, they're already recording artists, things of that nature. So I'm wondering, like, where that theme comes that you come to United States, you come to Boston, Massachusetts, you study, but you want to go back home.
Right. Well, I think for me, New York was my home, and I came to Boston purely by chance. I applied to Northeastern Law, which is where I went to law school, and it's a co-op school. It's one of, I think, the very few co-op schools in the country. So that actually led me to do my 4 co-ops mostly in the Boston area. And I had every full intention of going back to New York because I was where my parents were, where my whole family and all of my friends were. And I also will tell you, Boston was not the most initially friendly place for me. I felt very isolated here. So it wasn't until about second or third year in law school that I felt really a sense of belonging and that I could even stay here. But the co-ops that I did at Northeastern grounded me here in terms of working with companies and law firms, and that's what created that network, right, of support here that I needed to stay, and ultimately got a great job here working at my first firm, which was Palmer and Dodge. It was a large Boston firm, and it was there that, you know, I started my career, and through the different organizations in the law, so Mass Association of Hispanic Attorneys in particular, that was one of my very first organizations that I became a part of. I felt that this could be a place that I would stay. But yeah, it was really, you know, I think many people often come to a place and think, you know, I'm not going to give it a chance, I'm just going to go back. And it just ultimately became easier to live here. And Boston, in fact, is a great place to live and to work. It's much cleaner than New York. It's a much slower pace.
Smaller.
And I got used to, you know, once I got used to it, I felt I could really, you know, build a home here.
Yeah, that's interesting. And in your end, so you working with families at the beginning and working with children, then that's when you started acknowledging and seeing that, you know, you wanted to go further.
Right.
And then that's when you decided to go into becoming a lawyer.
Right.
What is it like to study a law? I mean, my goodness, it sounds so complicated. I mean, it's easy to say it, lawyer, but it's like when you ask a lawyer, like, what department, what, I don't know if there's titles for it, like, what rank are you? I don't know, where do you practice, what kind of attorney you are. It just sounds like there's so much.
I mean, you know, it's like anything in life, nothing's easy, right? Everything is work, but it's something that's doable. Like I said, I studied at night because I couldn't afford to go to school during the day unless I took a bunch of loans out, and I didn't want to do that. So I worked, and then I would go to school in the evening. I studied. I had to study at night on weekends, but you know, I did it, and I know a lot of people do it. I had the blessing that I was single and I didn't have children, so I could spend all the time to study. But I had friends and colleagues in school who were parents to 2 and 3 children sometimes, and they made it work too. And today they're very successful attorneys. And in fact, something that is one of my passions is motivating more children, Hispanic children, to go into law because less than 4% of all attorneys nationwide are Hispanic. And Latinas, it's less than 2%. So if you have 100 attorneys in the room, only 4 of them are going to be Hispanic. And so that's significant. I mean, if you compare that to the demographics and how large our population is and how it will continue to grow, it's very important that we get more Hispanics into law school. And a lot of times people think that lawyers only do the work that is on TV, and that's not the case. I mean, you can have a law degree and do many other things, practice many other things. You don't need to touch a courtroom ever, even with a law degree. So that's something that I also talk about with kids when I mentor kids and when I talk about being an attorney and what you can do with a legal career. It's very broad.
It's really frustrating to hear that, actually, because you know, like you said, you think that you're an attorney, you're going to spend all your life in the court, you know, and when you can kind of be, like you said, a little more, I don't know, traveling and maybe be, you know, a little ease, maybe working from home kind of thing. It's nice to hear that there are options.
Many alternatives.
Yeah, and in fact, what Eneida and I do is very different. So my focus is business law. So where that even came from, when I first went to law school, my initial thought was to work with immigrants. I felt passionate about helping immigrant families, and I wanted to work on immigration reform. And when I got to law school, I realized that there were so many different areas that the law had to provide. And I ended up getting a JD MBA. So I got a combined law and business degree. And part of the motivation was because lawyers ultimately are problem solvers, right? They help people look at an issue or look at an opportunity and make it happen, right, in a way that's within our laws. And so part of going into the business side was, one, there were very few Latinos in the business law sector, and I felt sort of this desire to learn it and to inspire others to go that same path because there were so few of us doing that kind of work. And then also, I think that when you have more Latinos going into business, not just helping others start companies, but actually starting them themselves, you start to create what we call the building of the wealth, right, in our own communities, which is so significant. Now that I'm also delving in entrepreneurship, I realize that, you know, Latinos and immigrants in general start many, many businesses. We have an entrepreneurial spirit, but part of the growth and advancement of our businesses is the networks we develop, the resources we have, and part of that is, you know, having access to great advisors. So lawyers ultimately help you advise you on how to grow your business, advance it, get more access to capital, for example. So I just thought, it was just a great opportunity to do something really, really different. And then going in-house into a company and being their general counsel, right? So their ultimate advisor, not only are you being the trusted advisor, but you're also helping to grow that business, right? Because you're then part of it.
So that's on the business. That's kind of like the business part, the business
Yeah.
side. And yours is more in the.
So I do family estate planning, real estate. So I help families. A lot of times families come into my office and I help them with their estate plan, and then I help them with their closing in their home. And so like Betty just said, just an advisor. And then if I don't have the expertise, I'll refer them to somebody who does, and that can help them.
Do you ever see yourselves kind of sharing clienteles or referring clienteles in that time, even though it's kind of different laws? Do lawyers do that?
Absolutely.
Do you share that kind
of? So in a very few, if I was at a big law firm, and the goal is that when you get to a certain level in a firm, not only are you practicing law, but you're also doing business development. So you need to bring in clients. And the way you do that is by getting access to companies that need legal services. And a primary way that you get those clients is through referrals. It's word of mouth. It's who you meet, right? So when Eneida and I first met, part of it was through some of the bar association work, but when we started to talk, I mean, that's a big challenge for lawyers. It's the referrals and how do you create more business opportunities. Eneida is a solo practitioner, so for her it's very important, right, to keep the flow of business coming in. And that's something for Latinos in particular, unless you have a vast network, it can be more challenging. So opening more doors for us, to people in business is really important.
That's great. That's great. So I know that we're really in depth talking about law because I just really wanted to, let our viewers know sort of some of the things that you go through. I mean, it's, we have young people that want to become lawyers, and it's good to talk about that because you kind of, from your perspective, elaborating a little of like the things that one goes to a lawyer. My question at the beginning was that when you want to become a lawyer, I just want to kind of get an idea. Do you have to love school? Do you have to like homework? Do you have to really want, are you like academically blessed? Because it could be challenging. It can be, oh my God, I don't know if I can handle this, and yet, you sacrificed, you did it night times, you managed, you worked during the day, so it is manageable. You can do it, but it's like where you start really like when you're focusing to be that attorney or that lawyer, it's like, it just sounds like it's a lot of work.
Well, I wouldn't say, what I would say is that you have to be disciplined, right? So I think to motivate somebody to become an attorney, I would say my advice, obviously there's reading and there's homework, like with any graduate program, but more than anything, if you have the discipline, you can accomplish whatever you want.
Right.
And so in my case, like I said, I was working, I was studying, but I had a schedule, and I set out time to do X, Y, and Z, and that's how I was able to get through it. If I hadn't had this discipline that I had, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did.
And you also mentioned that you were single with no children, so that really had a lot.
But again, I had a lot of colleagues because in night school you see people that are that have children. That's why they have to go to night school because typically they have to work. Mine was a choice. I didn't want to go to school and be broke, right? So then that's why I decided to spend one extra year because it's only one extra year. So day school is 3 years, night school is 4. You graduate with the same degree, the same credentials, the same prestige, and in fact, I would say even more experience because when you go out in the workforce, that experience is very valuable.
Right.
So, but discipline is the key, is the operative word.
And how and the timing and Betty, and the timing when you do graduate. By that time, are you already sort of establishing, like you were mentioning, the network base so that you do right away get a job? Or are you starting as interns? Or because you graduate and you want a job right away. Right. So how does that piece
how does that work? So law school is 3 years and full time. So I admire Eneida for the additional year. I had the additional year too, but because I did the dual degree. So it was repeating college again for the most part. But it's 3 years, and in the model that exists at Northeastern, for example, it's a co-op program. So if you want to lessen the time, right, of the academics and get some work experience, their model is what was called the true apprenticeship model, right, where you go to law school for 1 full year, and then you go on your first co-op. It's like an internship experience for 3 months. And that way you start to learn what the workplace is like, what it really is to practice law. So if you're working in a firm, for example, you might get involved with some research and memo writing. It might be a judicial clerkship that you do so that you could get experience working with a judge in court. It could be working in a business law environment. So you're drafting contracts, for example. You might help create or form a business, right? With the Secretary of State, so you're actually doing formation work. So there's many, many ways that you can start off the work part while you're in law school. And many law schools now have clinic programs where you're starting to get some experience doing a clinic. But I would say that it's somewhat of a long path. It's 3 years. But you can, if you're really do it in a way that gets you the most experience. You would do internships in your summers or in a co-op program, and the clinics can help get more experience, give you more experience as well. And typically, the way many people start their jobs after law school is they look for a role right before their third year, right? So either a summer associate of some kind where they can get really great internship experience, and then that workplace, whether it's a firm or it's a company, will hire you when you graduate.
Wow.
So that's a very
exciting.
common model. Yeah.
It's exciting.
And that way you have a job.
Yeah. No, because, I think sometimes like how, just about everywhere you go as lawyers, so you wonder like, how is everybody working? But then, the need is there.
Yeah, there's a lot of need. And I would say in terms of students who were like me that are evening students, a lot of my colleagues from law school, they went on to jobs in similar fields that they were in, whether it was the same company or whether it was in government, private, public sector. In my case, obviously, I was doing something a little bit different. So I kind of stayed in touch with my psychology by teaching, but I worked for a small boutique firm focused on real estate at first, and then I had the opportunity to go on my own, and I did. But I always knew I wanted to do that. So I always knew that I wanted to do my own thing. Because I did my own thing as a psychologist, so it was a comfortable space for me, and so it depends, right? So I think when you have, by the same token that you have the co-op experience, which is an extraordinary model because that way you get experience, then evening students have the work experience. The students that don't take advantage of these programs, whether it's internships, clinics, clerkships, have a disadvantage when they graduate. So definitely anybody who wants to go to law school, it's highly advisable that they do this kind of
And I would
thing.
say that's true of any career path you're seeking, right? So doing, in college, students should be doing summer internships if possible. That way you're getting experience, and that's building up your pathway towards a career, and that way you also know what you want to do by the time you graduate. So that's why that co-op model is really great. But it can work with pretty much any kind of degree program.
I mean, when I hear that, it's almost like sky's the limit, really, because now you spoke of real estate. It's almost like, wait a minute, what else have you not done? My goodness! So now you're talking about real estate.
I still do real estate.
You still do real estate, and that's another license you have to go through, right? Or no, you don't have to get no bars. You just have to be able to sell, right? How does that
No,
work?
I don't sell.
Right.
No, I don't sell real estate. I do closings. So I'm the attorney who represents.
Oh, okay.
However, it's interesting that you mentioned that because as attorneys, we can actually waive in to have the real estate license if we wanted to. I don't have it, but I could if I wanted to, and so could Betty. Any attorney can waive into that, getting that license, and they also get waived into being notaries. So basically, you just go and show that you're an attorney and you can be a notary.
You can notarize any document.
That's great. That's great. So I know that you have much more that we're going to be talking about, and again, it's been a very nice segment so far on learning about the law because it can be complicated, yet it can be simple, and to those minds that can understand it. But you've helped us, see it a little more in different ways so that it's really understandable to the viewers that the different steps, different representations, and how important the law really represents in every which way. And most important, it's being dedicated and committed to what you do. Because I can hear in both of you the passion and how dedicated and devoted you are to that. And it's amazing. It's an amazing thing. So we are going to take a little break, speaking with two ladies here.
Betty Francisco.
Eneida Roman.
And we'll be right back. We'll be right back.